we might have President Trump and some sound from him. Leland, we'll let you go, and I'll see if there's anything we have here. Here he is right now.
Also, they come in and raid their houses, and it's very dangerous. And they're told never to leave their house at night, and during the day, always carry a gun and know how to use it. And where they have their fences, because these are big ranches, where they have their fences, never go near the gate unless you have two people, and especially at night. And make sure both of you are carrying a weapon, a gun. And I said, nobody's ever told me this. This doesn't come out in the fake news, and this doesn't come out in the press. And these people had no idea they were going to do this, but I said, you know what? We have the media here. We have some very good people in the media here, actually. And I think it should be explained. Nobody's ever heard this. I don't think they've ever heard this. And maybe I'll start with Gene, maybe Gene, can you start? And we'll go through. But these are incredible stories. I had no idea. Nobody has any idea how bad this is. And this has been going on for many years. Many, many years. But now they're coming up because the economy is so strong. But regardless, this has been going on. And many people are dying. And the danger of living here, unless you know exactly what you're doing, is tremendous. Where your wife carries a gun and she's trained in using it. But maybe you start off, Gene.
Well, we were telling the president earlier today that in South Texas, from here to the border, we have millions of square miles of open brush country, and that the coyotes pick these people up at the river, and they'll bring them 50, 60 miles into the U.S., and then give them a gallon of water and a little something to eat and say, Houston's right here, or Dallas is right there, and then you need to walk this direction. And as you look at the press in Texas about South Texas, and we have numerous people dying on these ranches, and people have been finding their bodies for a number of years. Brooks County, down around Falfurrias, is one of the most prominent areas where they're found because they drop them off and tell them that Houston's just over the horizon. And so not only do we have a crisis on the border, a humanitarian crisis and a security crisis, we also have these people preying on the people that are trying to come here. And they have no idea geographically where they are, where they're located. They have a gallon of water, a little money, and maybe a sandwich, and they start to walk. And when it's hot and they're in the sandy country, they very often die. And these ranchers and a lot of the people here will tell you that they very often are finding bodies on the ranch. So this is not just security. It's not just us worrying about our property. It's worrying about the people who are actually trying to come here to better themselves or being preyed on also. The other thing I told the president that many of us have homes on the ranches, and the Border Patrol, the Department of Public Safety, all when we run into them on the highway, warn us, and we often have coyotes running their trucks through our fences as they're being chased by the Border Patrol, and they'll run into the ranch, and then everybody in the truck will bail out and hide in the brush. And so we're living in several thousand acres and nobody around. The nearest law enforcement may be 10, 15 miles away. And when they can't find the illegals that are in the brush, they leave. Law enforcement leaves, and we're left there by ourselves, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing if they're going to come up to the house, not knowing if they're armed, not knowing. In the middle of the night, when we've had this happen before, we've gotten up at 2 in the morning and packed up our car and driven back to San Antonio because we just did not feel safe. And I know that we're not the only family that feels that way and is being imposed upon. And this has been going on for a number of years. And there are a number, I'd like to turn it over to some other people here behind me that have got stories. Dos Gates, you might lead off with your story about your pumper.
Well, we've got a ranch north of Laredo, and there's a lot of oil field activity going on. There's certain gates that they use to come in, so they're very heavily trafficked. And these MS-13 people and other gang-affiliated people come across and know these roads exist, and they sit by the gates. And instead of roughing the guy up to take his truck when he's coming out there to open the gate to gauge the well or do whatever he's doing, They've killed them. And so there's, dead people out there that are just doing their job.
Often.
Out there, oil field workers. And we've seen that down in our area.
Often. And
Yep.
again, they all want the wall. If we had the wall, the good people will not be able, and you'll see them on the other side of the wall, and people can, number one, they won't come, because they'll say there's no way of getting through. Right now, they think there's a way of getting through. And the people back home never hear about them. They start the walk that they think Houston's, half a mile away, but it's 300 miles. And it's desert. And I asked Mr. Powell, I said, let me ask you a question. When you do this, why aren't people around to help these people? He said, this is a vast state. It's a vast area. If you look at it, the state's tremendous. We don't see that. I come from New York, you have Fifth Avenue, and that connects to Park Avenue, and it's not too far away. But this is, hundreds of miles between places. And it's just, I've heard some incredible stories. Does anyone want to go? You had told me something very interesting. Go ahead, please.
Less than 30 days ago, I had 6 people show up on my front porch of my house, all dressed in black, at 5:30 in the afternoon. So, just scary thought, not knowing what those people are going to do to you or what they're going to say. And like you said, Mr. President, you don't want to go to the door. You don't want to answer it for sure. So it's just always make sure your gun's around and hope that they don't try to do anything to you. It's just